major events at the end of next week and even into this week. First of all, we have the motion to dismiss the indictment against General Flynn, which I approve of. I think that's excellent. I know General Flynn's brother. I've spoken with him in the past. He's a good man, and I'm glad that, in fact, a motion to dismiss was filed by the Bar Justice Department. In fact, it's the only thing that this Attorney General has done that accounts to anything. I mean, he hasn't indicted Comey, he hasn't indicted Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, he hasn't indicted the Lovebirds, as I said, he hasn't indicted McCabe. I mean, you name it, he's abdicated responsibility. And do not expect that even though a motion to dismiss the Flynn indictment came down, and that's not a done deal because Judge Emmett Sullivan gets to rule on that. Sullivan called Flynn a traitor just a few months ago. I hope, he's straightened himself out at this point and sobered up. But the fact is that you're not going to see really any prosecutions against anyone, and certainly not Obama. And when they start floating that stuff on Fox News, that's to boost ratings, that's to boost advertising dollars. We know what happens. I've been doing this now for over 26 years in terms of first starting Judicial Watch, running for the U.S. Senate in Florida, and now Freedom Watch. The elites in Washington protect each other, and that's another story, because if this was anybody other than General Michael Flynn, such as my clients, the Bundys, who, in fact, in a worse case, were subjected to prosecutorial abuse, you can forget it. The Bundys can go to hell. And in fact, I wrote to the Attorney General Barr, I said, you must dismiss the appeal of the Bundys. Even an Obama federal judge dismissed the indictment, but no action. And I've tried to communicate with him in a number of ways. So if you're Michael Flynn, part of that Washington Republican establishment, maybe you might get justice in the end. But if you're Cliven Bundy, you can go to hell. And that's the problem with our justice system. And the government is out of control. Right now, and I love the president, and I hope in my personal capacity, I can't tell you in my capacity as the chairman of Freedom Watch who to vote for, but in my personal capacity, I support the president, and I want him to win in November. But right now, he's hanging by a thread. He's got to take control. His advisors came out just yesterday on Sunday and said, we're going to have more unemployment than the Great Depression. Now, whether that's true or not, how does that help anybody? He's not in control. Couple that with the fact, uncontroverted fact, that most people still haven't received their government checks. And that's notwithstanding whether this is a good idea or not, but they didn't get their payroll protection checks. They didn't get their unemployment. They didn't get disaster relief. They don't have any money. And now we're several months into this pandemic, and people see the government as being, false, telling them false things, that this is going to happen quickly. It's not going to happen quickly. This pandemic's going to be around for a long while. And we don't even know to this date whether it's real or not. I mean, in terms of the severity of it. But what we do know is that communist China is behind it. And what we do know is that a lab in Wuhan, China released it. And what we do know is that that lab works on bioweapons. And what we do know, perhaps, that even the strain of that came from an American military lab in Fort Detrick, Maryland. There's a whistleblower out there, I always mispronounce her name, Milkovich, who was talking about that. She's worked with Fauci. She's worked with the others. She apparently knows. Now, we didn't send over a bioweapon, although we were probably working on our own. But what we sent over to China, and we know that because Obama gave them $3.7 million, that lab. Why are we subsidizing a communist Chinese laboratory with regard to a deadly virus? The Chinese most likely manufactured that virus, turned it into a bioweapon. We know that the molecules of COVID-19 are lighter than air. That's why they travel so quickly. And we know that they've been laced with HIV to make them more deadly. Now, this is my problem here, because anybody who is a thinking person has to ask themselves the question, why is it that the president, the only thing he said is that it's a Chinese virus? Tweets don't do anything. Why isn't he instructing his attorney general to join and support the Freedom Watch lawsuit that I brought in Dallas, Texas, for the communist Chinese to pay the damages of this pandemic, the class action? We already have over 2,000 people who've signed up. as putative plaintiffs. We're going through it to see if they qualify. I'm hiring lawyers from around the country and also out of the country. In terms of Israel, we brought a case in Jerusalem. But I just have a feeling here that there's something that we haven't been told by President Trump and the people around him as to why he is going so light on the Chinese. Is it because he owns some properties in China? Is it because bank loans are coming due to the Bank of China, to the Trump organization? Or is it because we're so dependent on medications from China now that we're scared to rock the boat? Well, whatever the case can be, the president looking so weak towards communist China, this harms him even with thinking conservatives. Now, not all conservatives are thinking, okay? A lot of them swallow the Kool-Aid of Sean Hannity and Fox News every day. They sit on their couch, they're entertained. Gee, let's turn this on, this is neat. But I'm telling you, the American people, we need to do it for ourselves. You need to support Freedom Watch's class action lawsuits, our criminal case in The Hague against the communist Chinese to have them thrown in prison. The Europeans are angry too. This might actually happen. We need that support. And you need to communicate with the president. Go up on the website and find the White House email. I don't remember it right now. Or text and tell the president, support Freedom Watch, support what we're doing. Order your attorney general to take strong action against China. We don't need to pay for this. Trillions and trillions of dollars. That's not free. We're going to have to pay it back. Our children and grandchildren will be living in abject poverty, and we are going to be living there as well because we can't afford this. You can't keep printing funny money. The Chinese should have to pay. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, support our class action lawsuits, our criminal complaints with tax-deductible contributions. Sign up as putative plaintiffs in these cases. I also have a case for Ben Stein with regard to the draconian tyrannical orders of Governor Gavin Newsom in California. That would set a precedent throughout the country that you can't be imprisoned in your home. Support that too, and you can sign up for that class action. And you can sign up for the fact that we also have a lawsuit to uncover what the NSA and the intelligence agencies knew and when they knew it. Clearly, they knew what was going on in China. Clearly, we're not getting the truth, much like we didn't get the truth about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and a lot of other things. And also, we need to know whether this virus emanated from a military lab in Wuhan, China. We know that with regard to anthrax, when we were hit with that after 9/11, that came from an American laboratory. Bush, the dad, Cheney, and Rumsfeld gave it to Saddam Hussein, and it got out. Saddam Hussein was going to use it against the Iranians at the time. So our government is covering something up here. We need to proceed on a number of fronts. Go to freedomwatchusa.org, support what we're doing. We are the only ones that are doing it in any major way. And the president needs to be advised to wake up, snap out of it, take control, or you're going to be losing in November. God bless you. God bless America. Stay safe, you and your family. Same for me and mine. And go to freedomwatchusa.org. You can also find this podcast on Spotify, on iTunes, on Roku, on Amazon Fire, on Facebook, on Twitter. Share it wide and far, because at Radio America, you get the truth. You don't get the Kool-Aid. You get the truth. God bless you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow with another special podcast of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Thank you for listening to me.